I've always said at Wake, he exemplifies what this uniform is, and it's not just the name on the back; it's the name on the front. It's what he's done in the community, the way he's represented it, where he's respected the game, which goes on to the whole league of being a precious part of what we do, is respect for the game and for your place. He's exemplifies what it means to be a Red Sox.
We lost a brother, a teammate, a family member, stays in the kids, my condolences. We're here for them. But, like I was telling the guys, this guy, one of the best teammates I ever had. All the guys that I play with, nobody wore his jersey with more pride than Tim Wakefield.
Terrible, terrible story. Came out of nowhere, obviously shilling, but I didn't realize that he was even ill. And Tom Caron, of course, does a wonderful job with Nesson, does tremendous charity work. He's going to help us out here. And, yeah, this is a terrible, terrible story for a player who pitched a long time. Pirates, Game 3 of the NLCS against Atlanta. Let's not forget that performance. And then all the class going into Joe Torre in the Yankee clubhouse after the Boone home run to congratulate the Yankees, Tom. That says it all about Tim Wakefield. How about that?
It certainly does. Chris, yeah, there was no classier player in the last 40 years who played for the Red Sox. Pedro Martinez was the guy you circled his dates, and he was the superstar that you didn't want to miss. Tim Wakefield was the relatable superstar. He threw the pitch that we all fooled around with in the backyard and we thought we could master. Nobody could master it. But Tim Wakefield, I always said he harnessed the magic of baseball, right? The alchemy of the knuckleball was something that he was able to use. He let it go and he watched along with the rest of us to see what it would do, right? And it was so good for so long. He goes down in the record books. The third most wins in Red Sox history. Only Cy Young and Roger Clemens won more games in a Red Sox uniform. Second most strikeouts, most appearances, most innings pitched. But then what he did after the game, Chris, you and I both know a lot of players. When they leave the game, they don't know what to do. But he took the magic of the Red Sox, right? Again, harnessing the magic of baseball, I keep saying. He harnessed the power of the Red Sox and helped so many charities. He was honorary chairman of the Red Sox Foundation, team captain of the Jimmy Fund before that, and just helped thousands of lives by using his platform and using the Red Sox. A special guy, 12 years with us in studio, this year in the booth with Dave O'Brien. Love the game, love the Red Sox. It's, like I said with Jerry Remy 2 years ago, it's hard to imagine this team without him. That's a picture from the Jimmy Fund when he was a player. That was a young patient named Robbie. And he couldn't make it down the stairs. And Tim ran up away from everybody, picked Robbie up and carried him down the stairs. And that's the kind of guy Tim Wakefield was.
Well, and that off the field sums up superbly, and on the field, too. I know Joe was very moved by the idea that Wakefield, who just gave up a home run, one of the biggest home runs in the history of the Yankees and the Red Sox rivalry, and then he goes into the Yankee clubhouse in 2003 to congratulate the Yankees and Joe and Boone. That's a hell of a thing to do. What a classy idea. From a baseball standpoint, I love that story there, Tom. Help me out there.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, Mad Dog, if the Red Sox had won that World Series, he probably would have been MVP of the ALCS. If you remember, the Red Sox beat Oakland in the first round, losing the first two games in Oakland in under 24 hours, coming home. That was the Kevin Millar Cowboy Up run in 2003. Right. The year before that, they came back and wound up winning the next three with no day off. Game 4 was Sunday in Boston. Game 5 was Monday in Oakland. They won it. I was traveling with the team. We got to New York, and there were still 2 jet lags waiting to hit us. And Tim Wakefield went out and won Game 1 at Yankee Stadium, which I thought was one of the best pitching performances I'd seen in the playoffs at that point. He won 2 games and then came in extra innings, gave up the Aaron Boone home run, as you said, going over to the other side. And that's when the rivalry was at its peak. And I remember we got back to Boston, and I was walking in the airport, leaving the plane after coming back with the team, and he was sitting there. And I remember he looked at me and he said, "Am I going to be remembered like Bill Buckner? Am I going to be the next Buckner?" And I was like, "Of course not, because of everything you did in that series. People are going to remember you." Winning a year later, obviously, and he was a big part of that, right? sort of took one for the team in Game 3 when the Sox were getting pummeled by the Yankees, but reset the bullpen and allowed them to come back and win the next 4 games, keeping Keith Folk and the rest of that bullpen ready to go. So, it's an amazing 2003-2004 arc when you look at his career, and then he won another one in 2007.
And let's not forget in Game 4 of the 03 postseason, the 04 ALCS with the Yankees, everybody in New York screaming and yelling that Joe didn't run on Wakefield when he came on in relief, and Tony Clark hit the double down the inside, the ground rule double, and nobody ran on Wakefield throwing out knuckleball. So maybe Joe is paying him back. Let's give him a break and not try to steal bases in that long Game 5, and that long Game 5 when the Red Sox were still on the precipice of losing, and he held on. And they got out of that game and got the Yankee stadiums for 6 and 7. How about that Game 5 the following year in Fenway?
And the Tony Clark ball you mentioned that somehow defied the laws of gravity and stayed in, didn't stay in the ballpark, left and became a ground rule double, or else everybody would have been running and it would have been over. They weren't running on him, although. It's funny. He had a way, and talking to him over the years, he could dot that fastball when he needed to, and he would do it in a running count from time to time. So he would try to catch you. That's the thing. You can talk about Tim Wakefield as the knuckleball guy, and we all sort of say, you're just throwing it and letting it go. But he had a really good mind for the game. He was a guy who Pedro Martinez told me, Tim was one of the few guys who could see something mechanically wrong in Pedro in real time and go to him between innings and say, hey, you're flying open or your shoulder's open, and he'd immediately lock back in. So for a guy who had mastered kind of a trick pitch, if you will, he really had an old school fundamental knowledge of the game and really could see things happening on the field.
Excellent job, Tom. You are Mr. Red Sox in that booth, and off the field do a super job. Thanks for a few minutes here all year. Always come on. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris. It's a tough day for all of us in Boston, but he said to me once, the biggest honor of his career, and this is a guy who was an all-star and won 2 World Series, who was winning the Roberto Clemente Award in 2010 for all his work off the field, and that's how we should remember Tim Wakefield today.
There is Fenway Park with Wakefield. How about that? Wow, good job by Mr. Caron. Lots to still do. I'll talk to Brian Kenny next as we move it along on this Monday. Stick with us.